Ladies and gentlemen, it is now that time of year again, March Madness. It is honestly the best time of year. So I'm going to talk about my picks for the notable first round matchups. At the end of the video, I'm going to give you my full bracket, and it will be a perfect bracket. So you're going to win a shit ton of money if you copy me off. And also, I'm going to talk about my Final Four predictions and some sleeper teams that you need to watch out for. So a sleeper team that you really need to watch out for is Virginia Tech. I'm sure you've been hearing it a lot. They won the ACC tournament, defeating teams like North Carolina and Duke. They got good guys like Hunter Couture and Storm Murphy, who I think are very solid. But at the same time, Virginia Tech probably wouldn't have been in the tournament if it weren't for their ACC tournament run. But I think they're definitely going to beat Texas. Texas had a tough defeat to TCU in their conference tournament. And then they'll play a team like Purdue in the second round, which I think Purdue, they're very inconsistent. As you saw, they lost to Iowa in the Big Ten championship, and they really played to the level of their opponents. So I think that Virginia Tech can pull that one off, and I would not be surprised at all if they were in the Sweet 16. Now, another sleeper team that you need to watch out for is Murray State, led by KJ Williams, a guy that can give you a double-double any given night. They were undefeated against their conference, and they ended up going 30-2, which is very impressive. And they have a pretty easy first-round matchup, but then the second round they'll likely have to go up against Kentucky, which is why I'm a bit hesitant about them, but at the same time, I would not be surprised if they knocked off Kentucky. I want to talk about South Dakota State. Now, South Dakota State, they will be playing Providence in the first round. This will be a really good matchup because Providence, although they were the regular season champions of the Big East, they've been falling off a little bit. They had a really tough defeat in the Big East tournament. They would lose by like 20 or something like that. And South Dakota State also undefeated against their conference, and they would go 30-4. I think South Dakota State will knock off Providence. Now, a team that is very overrated in my opinion is Baylor. Baylor, they are a 1 seed, I know that, but they've had a lot of injuries, and I don't know if they'll be able to bounce back from that. And they had a really tough defeat in their conference tournament to Oklahoma. And Oklahoma was one of the teams that was first four out. So I'm not really confident about Baylor, but I could be wrong. Now, Loyola Chicago, they are a team every year. We always pick them in our brackets because we know that they're going to make a big run. They're going to play Ohio State in the first round, and then in the second round, if they get past them, they'll play Villanova more than likely. That'll be a tough matchup going up against the Big East champions, but if they pull that off, they'd likely have to go and play Tennessee. So their path is honestly not very good, and they would eventually have to play Arizona if they were to get that far. And Arizona, in my opinion, will win the national championship, and I'll tell you why later. So yeah, Loyola Chicago, maybe not going to make a big run this year, but I could be wrong, obviously. Now, a matchup I really like is LSU against Iowa State. Now, both of these teams started off red hot at the beginning of the year, but they both kind of cooled down near the middle and end of the year. This would be the perfect opportunity for both of these teams to regain some momentum in the tournament, but the rough part about that is that whoever wins this matchup will likely have to play against Wisconsin, and Wisconsin will be getting Johnny Davis back from injury. Now, Purdue is a team that I feel like will be eliminated early on, even though they are a 3 seed. So let's talk about it. Purdue, they got Jaden Ivey, obviously one of the best players in the country, but Purdue is just such an inconsistent team because they play at the level of their opponents, whether that's Iowa in the Big Ten championship, a team that I'll get to later who I think will be really good in the tournament, or if it's Northwestern. You really never know with Purdue. And I feel like they don't really know how to play without Jaden Ivey when he goes out of the game, and that'll be a huge issue for Purdue. So I feel like they'll get past Yale, but Virginia Tech will be a problem for them. or Texas even. Now it's time for my final four. I'm going to start off with Arizona. Arizona, they were great this year, especially against their conference. They won the Pac-12, led by Benedict Mathurin and Kerr Kriisa. I feel like Benedict Mathurin, one of the best players in the country. I feel like Arizona has the capabilities to make a national championship run. And I think, honestly, they're going to do it, like I said earlier. But let's talk about the other Final Four teams. Now, the Gonzaga Bulldogs coming out of the West region. Let's talk about them. Chet Holmgren, obviously, going to be a top 5 pick this year in the NBA draft. Drew Timm, also really good. He's been good for them the past couple years. Andrew Newbard, really good playmaker. Love him. The issue with Gonzaga, I feel like, is that you really can't predict how they're going to do. They've had really talented teams in the past couple of years, and they haven't been able to get it done. Will they get it done this year? I don't think they will. This Gonzaga team, with all the talent they've had, in the regular season, they've looked weaker than other past Gonzaga teams. They did lose to St. Mary's, which, honestly, St. Mary's, they're a pretty good team, so I get that. But Gonzaga usually dominates that conference, and it's been a little bit different this year. They still won the conference tournament, but they didn't dominate in the way they used to before. So Gonzaga, they are in my Final Four, but I don't have them winning the championship. Now, the Iowa Hawkeyes coming out of the Midwest region. Now, Iowa, they won the Big Ten tournament. I was really impressed with them. Keegan Murray, honestly, he's been one of the best players in college basketball. And I feel like people are starting to talk about him now and give him the credit he deserves, because he's doing it at a national scale, which he was before, but it's getting more media attention as we enter March. And I feel like Keegan Murray should be a top 5 pick in the NBA draft this year. Peyton Sandfort also went off against Purdue in the Big Ten tournament, Big Ten championship game. And they have a lot of good shooters surrounding Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray, great scorer. So I think Iowa, they definitely have the capabilities to make a run. But I feel like they will lose to Arizona in the Final Four. Now, my Final Four team is UCLA, led by Johnny Juzang and Jaime Jaquez. And honestly, it's a very similar team to last year that made the Final Four. And really, I like them better than any team in the East region. Kentucky, they've had too many losses to teams that I feel like were very, mediocre. And I feel like Baylor, I talked about them earlier. So UCLA, I have them in the Final Four, but losing to Gonzaga. So my national championship is Gonzaga and Arizona. And I feel like Arizona, they've had a history of choking when they get to this point, really. But I feel like Benedict Mathurin, he will have an amazing performance, and Arizona will win the national championship over Gonzaga with a score of 69-62. Okay, so this is my bracket. This is the final bracket for me. And you can take a look at it, pause the video and all that. And I'll see you guys next time. This is the end of the video, by the way. So I'll see you guys next time. It should be a really good tournament. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you're all excited just as much as I am. So I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.